This is the news in brief from the United Nations. Ahead of talks between Libya's political representatives in Switzerland next week, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday urged them to do more to help the country's people amid a serious and deteriorating humanitarian situation there. Speaking in Berlin, the UN chief noted that some 1.3 million people need humanitarian assistance in Libya today. That's an increase of 400,000 since last year, Mr. Guterres said, after calling for full implementation of a ceasefire agreement signed last October by the country's warring parties. While welcoming confidence-building measures by both sides, the UN chief insisted that all foreign interference in Libya must end. This should include the full withdrawal of all non-Libyan forces and mercenaries from the country, which has been split since the overthrow of President Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Mr. Guterres said. The UN has described the meeting of the Libyan Political Dialogue Forum in Switzerland from the 28th of June to the 1st of July to support successful national elections on the 24th of December. More than 50 million girls under the age of 15 are at risk of female genital mutilation, FGM, by 2030, and 190,000 of them live in 17 European countries, the UN Human Rights Council heard on Wednesday, in a debate about how to halt the customary practice of cutting, which is viewed as a religious requirement and a rite of passage for girls. Member states were urged to step up their efforts, as the current estimate of 3.9 million children mutilated each year could rise to 4.6 million by 2030. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet told the Rights Forum in Geneva that more than 90 countries were affected by female genital mutilation, while Natalia Kanem, head of the United Nations Population Fund, noted progress in Africa, albeit uneven, where female genital mutilation was declining overall. From Burkina Faso, Minister for Women Hélène Marie-Laurence Igboudou said that considerable progress had been made against cutting in her country and several others on the African continent, thanks to the new legal and institutional frameworks that had been adopted by several countries. From Indonesia, a delegate from the National Commission on Violence Against Women said that efforts to end cutting involved fostering dialogue with religious and traditional leaders. Female genital mutilation is highly prevalent there, the speaker said, with more than half of instances taking place before the girl reached 4 months of age. Small businesses need much more help to invest in economic disruption from climate change, which could be as bad as the COVID-19 pandemic every decade, UN economists said on Wednesday. According to a new report from the International Trade Center, ITC, 1 in 4 microfirms were at risk of shutting down after 3 months of COVID, while only 1 in 10 large firms was as vulnerable. This is significant because companies that managed to withstand the economic downturn caused by COVID-19 were 5 times less likely to fire employees during the crisis. International Trade Center Executive Director Pamela Coke-Hamilton said that the pandemic had laid bare the lack of resilience among small firms, which make up more than half of the global workforce.
If such resilience was necessary during the pandemic, it will be even more crucial in addressing climate change. The economic disruption of climate change is expected to be like that of COVID-19-sized pandemic happening every decade. Going green is a survival imperative. The longer firms take to act, the higher costs become.
Although small businesses account for more than 50% of global emissions, only 38% invested in environmental adaptation compared to 60% of large firms, according to ITC's SME Competitiveness Outlook 2021 report. Daniel Johnson, UN News.